Well, we once again return to the World Center of Racing, a racetrack that has once again been gracing the calendar as it has all throughout the months of January and indeed throughout all of March as well. This race is going to no doubt be an interesting one to take over, as we will once again look set to duke it out for another chapter of the TNGG IEL Truck Series. This time we'll see if Christopher Howell can hang on to that title. To do so, he's going to have to start with a good drive on Palm Beach here in Daytona. Good afternoon and welcome to Green Flag TV. My name is Ola Rempel alongside Mike Braun. And together we are bringing you all of the action here tonight from Daytona International Speedway. The TNGG 225 then, Mike, 90 laps. It's a very long race around this 2.5 mile behemoth. And you just know a lot of these racers, 38 strong, are chomping at the bit, ready to get going.
Yeah, this is going to be a great race tonight. Hopefully we get some good racing going on with those 38 guys, like you said, and hopefully we don't see what we saw in the real truck race at Daytona last weekend. But I expect these guys to get out front and start getting some good laps in. These guys are going to pace themselves around, should be able to take their time, and then towards the last 10, 15 laps, I definitely going to see it's going to get frisky.
It's been a very long wait, 5 months, in fact, since the last time we were racing for the actual official truck series. Of course, we had the Super Speedway Blitz throughout the winter months, but well, you take into account that for the most part, a lot of that is in open lobbies, right? They got a little messy at times. I think this is going to be the first proper representation of what we can expect to see throughout the course of the season. We mentioned 38 trucks. That is up from only 24 in last season's opener, and a lot of rookies are in the field as well. So you know that a lot of these drivers are going to be looking to make some good impressions. But a good impression doesn't always just mean racing up at the front, right? It means racing clean. Daytona is a place where you can make a lot of friends, but boy, can you ever turn a lot of other friends against you. And right now, I think for a lot of those rookies, their focus, instead of getting those points early on, it should be on making sure that you don't put yourself with a bad reputation for the rest of the 16-race season.
No, absolutely. Like you said, this is a place where you're going to make some friends and you're going to make some enemies. To go fast here, you really do have to tuck up underneath somebody's bumper and get going and just physically push them down the straightaways. But when you get into those turns, you cannot be tucked under there, especially with these trucks. They get a little light, they get a little turnaround, and that's when the big one happens. Yeah, this is my first time with these guys in the full league like this, so I am really excited to see what we can see. I do see some names that I know from the Super Speedway Blitz, but a lot of these guys I am not familiar with, so I am looking forward to seeing what these guys can lay down.
About 6 seconds, remain in qualifying before we will get set to go racing for 90 laps, 225 miles. It is a very long drive that everybody has. One of the big things to note is we're going to be seeing a good representation of everybody's pace because qualifying is now mandatory in TNGG. If you do not qualify and you start the race, it's an immediate 5-point penalty. That's pretty big considering that now it is 1 point per position, a hugely vary point format compared to last season.
No, yeah, that is definitely going to drive these guys to make the qualifying. It looks like we've got 37 trucks that did qualify. So it's still going to be a full field of these trucks coming around for that first time by. That's definitely going to be interesting to see.
And Julien Bellew currently sits in 38th. He is the lone driver that has so far not put down a qualifying effort. It looks like he will remain as the only driver to not put down that qualifying lap. But we are ready to get this show on the road as the checkered flag will fly on qualifying. So for the first race of the season at the TNGG 225, we're ready to see how everything is going to pan on out as we get set to duke it out for what will be an intense and a very long race around the World Center of Racing. Starting this race then on the pole, you are going to have the likes of Thomas Lane Jr. Who better to kick off the season than, of course, the series head? It will be Mike Allen start beside him in the number 2 spot. Josh Berry sits in 3rd with Paul Witt to round out the top 4. Carson Batol is in 5th with Brett Rucker in 6th. Jim Duda is in 7th with Ryan McRoberts in 8th. John Bawalda Jr. will start in 9th with Liban Van Leer down in 10th.
In the 11th spot, we're going to have Bill Hayes. On the outside of him is Zane Bailey. 13th is going to be Waylon McDonald. And in the 14th spot, Scott Rankin. Jordan Jung in the 15th spot. To his outside, Kyle Howard. Then you got Jordan Van Air, Vic Van Air in the 17th spot. In the 18th is Michael Gudger. 19th spot is going to be Brad Slagle. And rounding out your top 20 is Jim Kolmansford.
And, of course, rounded down to 21st spot, you've got, of course, Mike Campbell. 22nd place is Rick Schneider. For there you got Zachary Gruber and Mike Bagwell. Robert Marl and Brandon Gruber back 25th and 26th. Row number 14 holds Noah Swafford and Tom Gulker. Then defending champion Christopher Howell. Bad qualifying effort for him. Desperately needs a good finish tonight if he wants to start the title defense on a high. His main rival for the championship, Aaron Raymond, starts beside him on row 15.
And on the row 16 is going to be Charlie Burst in the 31st spot. Then the 32nd is going to be Dale Rapp. John Halliday in the 33rd spot. Jamie Dunning in 34th. Dylan Simmons in 35th. 36th is Luigi Gonzalez. Then Kevin Roy in 37th. And 38th is Julian Bellew.
And Bellew, you're going to take up the end of this field, and that is it then. All drivers except for that 38 starter gridded up and ready to go. So it looks like this will be a 37 truck grid to take us home to the green flag this time by. And that 38 is going to be looking really strong up in the front. Take a look, though, at the truck that starts right beside him. Mike Allen running some very patriotic colors on that number 20 dive machine. And that is, of course, a sponsored truck. And this is all coming from a new sponsor that was put in pretty much last minute, but it is going to be the main sponsor for the course of the season. So Thomas Lane Jr. Wanted to kind of extend his thanks to Cecil Ross with Network Alliance for Veterans. They are the primary sponsors for the TNGG IEL Truck Series, keeping the lights on here for the duration of their 6th season. So that 29 truck will be sporting their colors all season long. Thomas Lane Jr. will be lined up on the front row. We don't see that 38 truck up on pole all that often. I'm curious to see if he's going to stay at the front.
So don't hold my guy Thomas down. He's going to lay this down. He's going to be able to stay up front and get these guys going. So congrats on him on being on the pole. That paint job definitely does look fantastic on the 29 truck. It is going to look great all season long. And it is awesome to have somebody to support this league because this is a fantastic league. So looking forward to see what the green flag comes as they're coming down the back straight.
And a return numbers 3 and 4. And boy, you mentioned it right. It is going to be a very wild night here in Daytona Beach down in Florida. 37 trucks lined up and ready to go, and you can hear the rumbles, you can feel that anticipation starting to build as the season gets set to finally kick off in earnest. Thomas Lane Jr. will work out of the final corner, and as the pace truck will make that drive down into pit road, we want to once again thank everybody for taking the time to join us here on this absolutely incredible Saturday night as we get set to welcome the TNGG IEL Truck Series back into the fold. We are green for the first time at Daytona.
Good start from these guys coming down into turn one. Everybody's sticking into that two-file line. That's going to be what we're going to want to do, guys. Jockeying a little bit to get down into that inside groove. But we see them coming around 1 and 2 right now. Thomas Lane leading the way in the 38 truck.
Leading the way down the back straightaway, and remember, no 3 wide is allowed until you get down towards lap number 17, and that is to prevent a lot of these early race wrecks that we so often see at Daytona. It didn't stop them last season, though, when they went down to Daytona for their opener. They had a crash on just lap number 13 of the race, so it eliminates a lot of the risk of going 3 wide, but it certainly doesn't eliminate the risk of wrecks altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's, when you're running this close like this, the guy is getting tucked up into those bumpers as we talked earlier, especially in those turns. If you get even close to that bumper in a turn, it's going to make that tail end swing around really quick. But you see Allen leading that outside lane right now, starting to make a good run to come back up on lane. So that outside lane starting to run a little bit of power coming onto that back straightaway.
Allen currently being pushed by Paul Witt in the 429. Witt, of course, a winner at the plate tracks as well. So Paul Witt, seeing what he can make out of himself. Right now, everybody packed up effectively line of stern throughout the entire pack. Kevin Roy and John Holliday dropping back from the tail end. They might be on the backslide. They've got Brandon Groover in the mix with them as well. And then Brett Rucker and Zachary Groover starting to drop back a bit as well. But other than that, everybody tucked up in one giant battle pack. Now, that is a great thing to see, right? Because that means that you're not going to find yourself struggling like you so often do in those next-gen packs where it's so easy to lose that draft and fall down a lap.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to lose that draft at all, and no matter what car you're running here at Daytona. But if you get back there that far back and you can't get that draft, those top trucks are just going to keep pulling away and pulling away. As Thomas Lane Jr. still leading the way in that 38, but that outside lane, you've got Michael Allen leading that way of that outside lane, trying to run them back down. But you got Josh Berry in that second spot, just pushing Lane down the front straight right now.
Yeah, pushing Lane down the front straightaway for the number 15 of Josh Berry, and Carson Batesall, one of the wanted Goons drivers and a bit newer entered the fray as well. Is in fact 15 going to blink out, and no, so he's going to jump to the top. Pardon me. Look away for the timing screen for 1 second, and look what happens. Berry jumps to the top, of Batesall will continue to push Lane down to the inside line, but Josh Berry being pushed to the top shelf. Putting the focus back on the 1-2 Goons crew, though, particularly with that number 59 truck, they were competing in quite a few races throughout the latter portions of the season, starting from the second Phoenix race onward, and they were really competitive in a lot of those later races, and they were expressing they were going to be bringing their whole crew out to race full time this season with the intention to win a title.
Yeah, no, they had a great run during that Speedway Super Blitz there, and now he is coming down the front straightaway and pulling that outside lane out in front. You got Josh Berry now in the 15 truck leading the way, but here comes that inside line. Thomas Lane just pulling back on the inside. Ooh, getting close coming out of turn 2 there.
One truck jumps down onto the apron, and that is Waylon McConnell that has started to slide back at the number 75. Wanted nothing to do with what was going on up in front. So McConnell going to be down on the backslide in the Overkill Silverado, and that's going to put him down into the apron. And look at all the speed he's losing now because he's on that apron. He may have just wanted to get out of the pack, but now he's going to get out of the draft altogether, and that will force McConnell to go down the lap if he can't get a caution within the next 15 laps or so.
Yeah, he may have thought that was going to be a smart move and was hoping to get tucked back into that draft, but man, he is way back right now. But you see Lane and Berry still door handle to door handle coming around turns 1 and 2, hitting in close there as Carson in the 59 truck is just pushing away, trying to lead those guys down the back straightaway. but you got Lane still leading the way in that 38 truck.
And Lane's still doing a good job holding on to the inside line, but Josh Berry has shown that he really wants to be one of the main leaders of this race. Oh, you saw him right there. Tried to jump down to the bottom, but Lane tucked the nose back in, and that discombobulates the outside line as everyone's going to drift up and have to check up for that little move. So a little attempt almost costed Josh Berry dearly. They remain double file all the way down this main pit straight. Everybody packed up nose to tail, save for McConnell, who is losing a lot of time in a hurry. Everybody else in this field, they last ran about a 47 to a 48, a high 47s to low 48s. McConnell, 4.5 seconds off. He ran a 52.4.
Yeah, that tough break for him, just trying to get out of that crazy melee that could have happened. But as you see him coming off of turn 2 now, so almost that full back straightaway to that next closest truck. But he's going to be waiting for that yellow flag to hopefully get pulled back up into that group and try to avoid what could possibly be a big one. But everybody's doing pretty good, 2 by 2 coming down into the tri-oval section right now. Same 2 up front with Thomas Lane and Josh Berry leading the way.
And this is going to be pretty status quo throughout a good chunk of at least this first stint, right? Because remember, we do not get any sort of 3-wide. We're not supposed to get any sort of 3-wide action until lap 17. Now, of course, the exceptions are if you're McConnell, you're going to drop down through the pack, or, of course, if you're avoiding some sort of incident, so long as you double it out as quickly as you possibly can as well. So for the most part, this is what we're going to get used to see throughout these first 17 laps. Drivers just taking it nice and easy, trying to make it to that first pit stop window, which is right around lap 17. But it gives a good indication that we can expect to see these guys in a pit road for the first time. Barry jumps to the bottom. He'll be your new race leader.
Yeah, that's going to make it real interesting is that first pit stop. If we can stay green this whole time and get into pit stops, that's when things are really going to start shuffling. Seeing guys coming in, try to get onto those brakes and try to get into the pit lane safely. You know, anything can happen when you come off the banking off of 4 into that pit lane. So as you see Josh Allen dumping down onto that inside lane in that beautiful 29 truck, leading the way right now with Barry right behind him, giving him a push down the back straightaway.
Yeah, just barely able to tuck the nose in there for that 29, and I thought for a moment we'd be seeing some problems go down for that 29 to the 15, but right now, Mike Allen going to lead the way. Josh Berry in that number 2 spot is going to try to get up there into that second position as well. So time is going to continue to slowly but surely tick away. And Robert Amaro further towards the back. He made a look towards pit road, and then for a second he entered pit road. Evidently may have gotten a bit loose coming off that final corner. You see a lot of the drivers towards the back getting a little bit crossed up as a result of all of this. And Thomas Lee Jr., driver that was further leading the way, his pace hasn't dropped off, but you see him now 3rd on the inside line. That is just a product of super speedway racing. As more drivers make those moves on the top, it's going to slowly but surely shuffle everybody on the inside line further and further back.
Yeah, this first probably good, 60 laps or so of this race is just jockeying. It's just moving around and just trying to stay within striking distance. It's not always the guy that's leading the race right now that can take that win. Sometimes it's even the guy that's in 20th right now. It just depends on everybody's positioning when they come out of pits and how they can stay in draft line. But as you see these guys coming around right now, 429 on the inside lane right now. That is Paul Witt leading the way around 1 and 2, but that outside lane with Bill Hayes in that 429 right next to him, driving down the back straight.
Now the big question, since we got pit stops less than 10 laps away, do we see a crash coming down the pit road? Because it's a hard task to get down to the pit road with about 20 others around you. Holy cow, look out. Hales pushed up and wide. A bad bump from Jim Duda will send Bill Hales up the track. That checks up the entire outside line. And looking like Ryan McRoberts gracious enough to let that truck back in line. But boy, that got a bit tight for a moment.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. You get tucked up under that back bumper around the turn, and if you get caught up to him real quick, that's going to get that back end to chase around. So great job on hanging on to it and able to keep from spinning around and causing that big one right now, because that would have wrecked out this entire field.
We talked about if we're going to get if we're going to get any sort of caution, pit stops before the caution. We almost didn't get one at all. As whoa, McRoberts sideways on the backstretch. He'll slide to the inside and bring that one to a stop down on the apron. So trouble for Ryan McRoberts on the back straightaway. Let's take a look back and see what happened to the number 21. This has checked up the entire pack, and oh, he just got hooked by the number 1.
Yeah, that's that close pack racing that always happens, but he was lucky enough to stay off the wall, so it didn't do any bad damage, but he is going to be over a lap down once he gets going again. As we're coming up on lap 13 right now, coming on around to 14. So we're starting to close in on that fuel window with these guys running, was it 50% fuel? It should definitely get these guys in around 17, 18 or so.
Yeah, within that lap 17 to 18 range is when we're going to be seeing these guys really making those first pit stops. McRoberts is down and into pit road. He was forced to come down, which is unfortunate for McRoberts to see that truck have such bad luck early on. He will now go down a lap, and it's a long drive ahead of him to get this thing back sorted. But for now, Witt and Duda, 2 Team IEL drivers, trying to lead the way as they rip around the top side of turns 1 and 2. Mike Allen and Bill Hales run the second and, run second in both lanes, third and fourth technically in their own little battle pack. See a few drivers jockeying for position and more jumping down low. This is those preparations that we're seeing for those green flag stops coming up.
Yeah, guys are prepping themselves, getting that inside lane so when they're ready to come in for pits. But man, that inside lane is starting to get really crowded. You only got, what is that, 7 trucks on that outside lane right now. Everybody positioning and getting ready for that fuel stop as we're just crossing the line at 15 laps down. We still got a ways to go. So definitely with these guys packed up like this should get interesting when it comes to fuel coming into pits.
Well, fuel strategy and pit strategy as well. I think tire strategy will be something to note as well. Do you go for the double stint, which I'm anticipating a lot of drivers will go in for the double stint, just take fuel only this first time around. McRoberts, who you see his tire trays with the infield grass, might have a different story. He, I think, was forced to take a set of 4 good years, but other than that, he'll take it single file and just come down to pit road, take a tank of gas, and get back out onto the racetrack. Your tires are not going to be that worn after only 17 laps of running.
Yeah, like that one lone guy running that outside lane right now, that is the number 20 truck of Zane Bailey. He is the sole survivor in that outside lane, trying to find a home on that inside lane as everybody's starting to get ready for that pit stop. He is just hanging dry right now. But as you see, everybody else is tucked into that bottom line. We're on lap 16, closing in on that magic lap 17. So we'll have to see when these guys start diving in. Now, you just got to remember, too, the guys that were in the back, they're able to fuel save quite a bit. They're able to get into that draft and lift and hang on. So some of these guys might even be able to go a little bit longer. So we'll have to see when they start jumping down into pits.
Lap 17, 3 wide is now allowed. So now we'll really start to see this action kick off. I'm thinking after the pit stop window. For the first time, we get pretty much everybody in this pack single filed out. There is a second truck that has jumped to the top to give Zane Bailey a little bit of a helping hand. That might be Dylan Simmons. It is Dylan Simmons in the 07 truck that has jumped to the top shelf. So that has stopped the bleeding of that 20 for now. And in fact, they're making some moves around the outside now because all of this traffic on the inside, they're checking up for one another. These two can just push and go.
Yeah, just hopefully they don't get hung out too dry to, if they miss their pit lane or something. But I see everybody's calling that they're going to be coming in for pits right now. So this is going to be the time where everybody's starting to come in as they're coming off of turn 4 right now, and they're going to dive into pit lane.
Paul Witt is going to be the first to bite the bullet, and here comes everybody with them. Now watch for all this traffic funneled into pit road. Do we make it in clean? A lot of locking up, a couple drivers in a little hot. But for the most part, I think we've got that sorted just nicely. How about that? Very good pit entry from the entire field, and still no dramas even through pit road. It looks like we're pitting under yellow.
Looks like everybody doing a great job. I saw one truck get a little touch with somebody, but they were able to keep it square. But you still got about 10 trucks that are still out on the track, going down the back straight right now, leading the way. But as you see, everybody coming out of pit lane right now. This is going to be very interesting. Watching side by side on that apron is going to be brutal. But This is definitely going to get interesting as the second group of trucks is coming around right now. And it looks like they're starting to dive into pit lane now as well.
Scott Rankin leads the new field in. One of our Aussie runners is going to be taking that truck down to this pit road as he will take in the rest of the pack. They could not go more than lap 18. Take a look at the track map over on the top of the screen. That is going to be Thomas Lane Jr. working the back straightaway. He is right now in that leading pack, although a little bit further back through the field. Right now it is in fact John Holliday who is the overall race leader in that battle pack. Sorry, John Holliday currently in pit road as well. Josh Berry, the driver I'm thinking of. And you can see him working through that front straightaway right now. He's the one that Rankin is racing on pit exit for the race lead.
This is going to be pretty close. These guys are coming into turns 1 and 2 right now. Rankin's still down on that inside apron trying to get a run out as you see him chasing that tail end around because he's got that thing pinned down the back straightaway now. Here comes that whole pack of trucks coming off of turn 2 right now. Rankin leading the way right now. Good quick pit stop from Rankin. 8.7 second pit stop from Rankin. So one of the fastest pit stops that I saw so far, 27.1 seconds in pit lane. So good stop from Rankin, and that's why he's out in front now.
And that's what has put him as a sitting duck. So he leads for a little while, but he is immediately swamped by Christopher Howe, who jumped to the point courtesy of Rankin's own teammate, Carson Batal. And Rankin can be forced into the battle pack with everybody else further down the rear. That's the trouble with getting out in front so far. It's great on the bottom of the halves. It's horrible on the plate tracks, though, because it puts you in that situation. Now Scott Rankin left to flounder in the mid-pack. And this group of 3 trying to keep it up in front of everybody else. 2 distinct battle packs, the biggest of which runs from first down to 15th, and then 3 seconds back. Jordan Vicknair brings up pack number 2.
Yeah, it's the top 3 still sitting out there right now, Christopher, Carson, and Dylan, but that whole pack is reeling them in right now as they're coming off of turn 4. So now you've got a pack of about 15 trucks all together, and then you got another about 10 or 12 trucks back about 5 seconds back behind them in that second group. So we're coming across on lap 21. So remember, we are able to go 3 wide. We've been green this whole time right now. So the guys are doing a great job of keeping them side by side and keeping out of each other. But coming around down the back straight, you still got Duda and Howell leading the way.
Jim Duda, another one of those drivers that came in from the Super Speedway Blitz as a rookie. He made a lot of waves, and some drivers didn't like his driving in that 8-race mini-series. Some drivers, though, thought it was good for the plate tracks. Well, whatever the case, that driving has put him towards the front now. He leads the outside lane. Defending champion, though, Christopher Howe has made the most out of a bad situation. He didn't get the best in qualifying, but he's now 28, and he's trying to lead the way at Daytona to kick his title defense off on a high.
Yeah, that's a big jump from Christopher Howell, up 27 spots right now from his starting grid. I mean, the whole grid was separated by about 0.3 of a second, so that's very impressive from these guys. But watching this lead group of about 15 trucks down that back straightaway, yeah, Duda leading the way in the 0.53, and right on the inside.
Oh, getting close. No! Spinning to the bottom as Duda slides up and into the outside wall, and that'll be yellow flag number 1. He'll strike it a second time. He got pushed out of line. He tried to go down low, and there was no room for him to make it work. Christopher Howell will lead the way, and we have our first caution flag of the season.
Yeah, he was just up on that high side trying to come back down. It just wasn't quite enough room. So we'll have to watch the replay as they come down right now. As he comes down the back straightaway, cuts down into that inside lane, and just didn't see that the 88 truck, well, 38 truck was, or 39 truck was in the way right there, and just clipped him coming into 3. Luckily, there was that big gap to that second group, or else that would have been real catastrophe.
No kidding. I was holding my breath. I fully thought we were about to see a monster of a wreck coming into turn number 3, excuse me. Take a ride on board with Jim Duda here. And this is what he saw spinning down the back straightaway. Just, that's a tough situation, right? You're just left with not a whole lot of room, and then he just barely missed that pack as he came back up the track as well.
Yeah, if that group would have been tucked in right there and had all those trucks running together, that would have been just a huge mess. But as you see him coming down, tights down on the inside, thought he had it cleared and just wasn't cleared enough.
Nope, not cleared enough, though. So close. It's those fine margins, though, that could make or break a race. A lot of the field coming down and into pit road this time by as well for their second run of pit stops on the afternoon. Christopher Howell will lead the way. And hey, you may as well at this point, right? I mean, you're already, oh, hello. Howell jumping way to the inside a bit aggressively there, but, you're already this far down, and I think Howell missed his pit box. He's going to be forced all the way through.
Oh, wow, that's a huge mistake right now. Luckily, he's under yellow, but, man, that's a huge mistake.
A mistake that Christopher Howell did not need at all as we watched the rest of the field cycle their way in and out of pit road. Well, caution flag number 1 for a single truck spin up in turn number 3. We are going to take a quick step back, and we'll be back with more racing action here from Daytona International Speedway in just a moment.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Lights are out aboard the iRacing Pace Truck. We get set to go. Green flag racing in the TNGG IEL Truck Series for the TNGG 225. It has been a great drive so far. Caution 1 comes out at lap 23 for a lone truck. Not Christopher Howell, excuse me. Jim Duda spinning around, entering turn number 3 and sliding up into the outside wall. Luckily, nobody else was collected. Carson Baytall and Josh Berry start on the front row. Christopher Howell was forced into pit road a second time after missing his box the first attempt.
Yeah, that dropped him all the way back to the 35th spot. So he's going to have to work his way all the way back up after missing his pit stop. So that's going to be a tough race, but he's got a long ways to go still. We've got another, 50, 70, 65 laps to go. Still a long race, and I'm sure we're going to get at least one more caution as that iRacing truck dives into pit lane. Here comes our lead pack down to the tri-oval for the restart.
Green flag is back in the air, and we get back to green flag racing this time by as Carson Baytall and Josh Berry will look to take it 1-2 in the mad scramble towards turn number 1. The big thing now is the fact that these drivers are allowed to go 3 wide on this restart. So I think we're about to see a lot more aggression than we did on that first attempt.
I think we might see these guys still 2x2s. I mean, there might be a sole guy that makes it try to run, but these guys are probably going to settle in again, just like they did for that first stint, and get settled in and get a groove going. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a good another 20 laps of green flag racing before we get too frisky again.
So Carson Batel and Paul Witt going to continue to scrap it out amongst themselves as they look to make this happen down into turn numbers, turn number 5, I guess, if you want to count the tribal as that, but I think I might anger some fans with that one. Carson Batel, though, leading the way. Barry trying to fight back on the top shelf. Witt and Simmons, the 2 primary pushers. For the most part, everybody's still packed up. The line is starting 1 battle pack. No 3 wide yet, though. I would have thought we would have seen that by now.
Yeah, everybody's I mean, they're jumping around a little bit, but these guys are doing a great job. Everybody's still grouped in pretty good. There is a little bit of a gap going back to a second group on that outside lane, but that inside lane still about 20 to 30 cars, or 20 or so trucks deep. So we'll have to see as they come off of turn 4 into turn, not 5. It's the tri-oval. It's the front area.
Turn T for tri-oval.
Yeah. Some of us want to just keep turning right about here, running the 24 hours of Daytona. You want to keep turning down into that section there, but not quite what we're doing tonight.
Oh, don't get me started on that one. I had to produce a 24-hour race at Daytona single-handedly. I've had about all the Daytona road course I can handle for 1 year.
Oh, I can imagine. And sorry I missed out on that fun as I was driving in it and trying to keep from getting murdered in it, but we had a good finish in that one.
Where'd you finish in that race, by the way?
We got 6th in our split, so
not bad.
No, that's good, but we did run the Bathurst race today, and we were able to finish 3rd in our split, so that was a great success for us.
Good show, good show.
And coming out with 2x for myself for 6 hours or 5 hours of racing, I'll take that.
Yeah, I think that's about as good as you can get in a long race like that. Approaching the 1/3 mark in this race, meanwhile, Paul Witt leading the way, and there's a bit of an inside line breakaway starting to take shape here. The outside has really faulted a good chunk, and Dylan Simmons, I think when he lost Paul Witt's draft, it's really kind of upset that outside line. See how much that pushing driver there is wiggling around. I think is that Scott Rankin? It is Scott Rankin. I don't think Rankin is too comfortable pushing Simmons at the moment. They have not been able to make too much ground ever since they lost the draft from Witt.
Yeah, this is like we said in the intro about making friends, and when you get hooked up with somebody, they kind of learn how you push, they learn how you drive, and if you get hooked up with somebody else, you're not comfortable with how they're doing it. So it does take a little bit of time to get used to somebody new running in front of you. But that inside lane still about 2 trucks out, pulling away down that back straightaway, but everybody's still able to hang on to that 2x2 line right now.
Still trying to hang on to the 2x2 line. Zachary Gruber further towards the back. Not like it matters all that much. He will set the new fastest lap of the race. And whoa, Dale Rapp trying to turn that 52 truck into a lawnmower. He's going to trip up, and there's a lot of discombobulation going on here. He's going to lose touch and fall back to Kevin Roy, who had to really slam the brakes to avoid that truck. And we'll get a look back on what happened. This will be from the air, working down the back straightaway and in towards turn number 3. Boy, this got wild in a hurry.
Yeah, we'll have to see where this came here as they're coming down the back straight. It looks like those lines getting stacked up a little bit, and it just kind of like accordion, it gets tapped from the back. Oh, and that next group right behind him, luckily we're able to hang on to it. Man, what a great drive, able to hang on to it in the grass, and real close. But if this was on the old iRacing grass from about 6 months ago, that truck would have been sideways and going every wrong direction.
Oh, you know it would for sure, and I have no idea how that did not come to blows. But right now, Witt and Simmons continuing to lead the way after that mess. We have less than 60 laps to go. Dylan Simmons now leading the outside line and trying to lead the race. He and Scott Rankin have finally got their rhythm sorted. They don't try to track up to one another, working through turns 1 and 2 down the back straightaway. The 15 of Barry tucked in line as well, just behind Witt. And everyone else just along for the ride, but because of that mess with Dale Rapp, a secondary pack started to form from Mike Campbell on down.
Yeah, you've got 25 trucks running in that front group right now as they're coming around 3 and 4. And then you've got about another pack of about 8 trucks trying to run inside, or running in single file, trying to get back close. They could technically get closer because that, you got a whole pack like that, but you really do got to get tucked up in that back bumper and actually push the truck just a little bit when you're on those straightaways. But they are about 6 seconds back of that front pack, so it is going to get a little bit of work to get back up there, and they're going to hope for a caution here. But speaking of caution in pits, we're about 12 laps, 13 laps since our caution flag, so the pit stops are going to start happening here probably soon, as the lead pack still coming around turns 3 and 4 right now onto the front straight.
Witt going to keep himself relatively sorted up towards the front of this field. One driver I'm noticing trying to drop back a little bit, Rick Schneider. I think he's trying to keep himself at just far enough back so he has time to check up if anything up front comes to blows. But he's got to be careful he doesn't drop back too far. He is at a pretty dangerous threshold right now, losing that draft, especially as Waylon McConnell up the road jumps to the top lane.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that draft, especially if he's back there by himself. It's a long way back to that other group, so you really do not want to lose being connected to that front pack right here, because anything can still happen as we're coming around 3 and 4 right now on lap 34. Lap 35 coming up. Everybody's still 2 by 2 coming down the front section now.
Witt gonna keep on keeping on. Barry, though, will jump the top side, and that caused a little bit of a stack up throughout this leading pack, and they thought about going 3 wide for a moment. Slagle made that little peek to the outer lane, but again, I think might have just been trying to avoid a wreck in preparation. They'll tuck it back in line. We'll remain double file. So far, the only bit of 3 wide action we saw was right before that first pit stop window, just shy of pit stops taking place. In fact, it was in the middle of that pit stop window for the latter group that came down. Ever since then, it's been pretty well organized, right? 2 lanes up and down throughout this field. Everybody's being nice and composed. It's a very different scene to that Super Speedway Blitz race that we had here at Daytona.
No, definitely. That was a little bit of chaos, but like we said in our pre-production, we're talking about open lobby room. You never know what you're going to get in there, but this is the league session right here. These guys are doing great. 36 laps down. Our pit stop should start happening here in the next probably 5 laps or so. That top 25 group is still just nose to tail. I really think about lap 75 is when we're really going to start seeing some jockeying, some people really making moves. That's when the business is really going to start happening.
Paul Witt gonna finally jump back down low after that huge hairy moment coming out of turn numbers 3 and 4, working the front straightaway. I'll tell you what, I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far. I mean, I know it's nothing. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, as I say that, they nearly wrecked for the lead, but I've been impressed, right? I mean, it takes a lot for a 38 truck field to keep themselves disorganized. They've been doing a phenomenal job, and once again, TNGG is showing why they're one of the best truck leagues on the surface.
No, absolutely. The 2 spins that we had were just real simple ones. Just not a big wreck. It was just a little bit of spacing issue or something like that. But these guys are doing a fantastic job as we're still side by side down through the tri-oval into turn 1. We got Paul Witt still leading the way in the 429 truck on that inside lane. The outside lane just getting broken up just a little bit. Oh, looks like the 07 dropping back a little bit. That's Dylan Simmons gets up on that high side, and everybody left him for dry. So we are running 3 wide down the back straight.
No one going up to help him right now either. John Bualda Jr. going to let him in line, so Simmons will thankfully not have to suffer the same fate that some other drivers did earlier on. He'll be able to tuck that one in line and not lose too much ground. He will be back to 14th, but right in the middle of the biggest pack on the racetrack, so not a bad result at all. He has a lot of time to reel that gap back up to the leaders. And we're still not even that halfway, right? We've been racing for a good while yet, and the patience has been immense from this field to recognize that it's halfway. I think back to some other leagues that we've called here at Daytona in the past. Most notably for me comes to LTAC that race here, even Speed that race here. It was just go, go, go all the time. Nobody was being patient at all, and it resulted in a bit of a higher number than just one yellow flag. I think we got like 8 or so in LTAC, 4 in Speed. Right now, 1 so far, approaching the halfway mark, but Josh Berry's trying to make it 2.
Yeah, these guys are jockeying a little bit. It's, you know, the turns around here are very bumpy in these trucks, and they get bouncing around. I bet you a good in-car slide would be kind of interesting right now to watch these guys coming around in those turns and seeing those trucks bouncing around and jockeying for position as we jump in right now with the 49 truck of Scott Rankin. Scott's in that 5th spot right now, but as you can see, there is not much visibility with those huge wings running on those trucks right ahead of them. You get tucked in right on that back bumper, and if you just touch them a little bit, and you see you guys change positions, that's when things can happen. That's when things get hard, real hairy, as we're coming around 3 and 4 right now. That inside line still about 1 truck ahead, with Paul Witt leading the way in the 429.
Well, that is why racing at super speedways is so treacherous, right? Is that lack of visibility. That's why the wrecks at Daytona have a chance to be so much bigger. Like, you would think, and I've seen a lot of people ask before, you know, it's like, why did they get involved in this? Could they not see it up the road? No, they literally couldn't. They got their face full of rear wing. They can't see anything. It's a tough drive for these guys to try to fight their way through, but they do a phenomenal job of making it work, and it really shows just how much you have to feel your way around a track like Daytona to make this work.
Yeah, definitely. But you see these guys all dropping down into that inside lane. I think we've got pit stops coming. That whole group of dropping down to that inside lane right now is going to start diving into the pits as we're coming up on lap 41, coming up to 42, coming off of turn 3. Here they come off of turn 4 down into pit lane. A whole gaggle of about 12 to 15 trucks trying to get slowed in. Whoa, that was close coming into pit lane.
And I'm pretty sure Carson Batall tried to come into the pit road but missed the mark as he was slowing on the racetrack, but then gassed it to get back out. I don't think he thought he could make it, so he's back on the racetrack and somehow got out in front while still leading the way. Josh Berry and more, though, into pit road. There is Mike Allen in the sponsor truck for the field as everybody else, there was the second pack you see just blitzing by everybody else. Josh Berry out of pit road. He will best the 33, making his way out of pit road, so Jordan Young will be out just behind. Gonzalez, Birch, and Moore making their way out of the racetrack. Now we wait to see when the Wanted Goons crew will make their way in.
Looks like your second group of trucks going to start diving into pit lane. Nope, we got a couple of them that are jumping way inside to stay out of the way. But that other group's still out on the front straight. So you've got a pack of about 8 trucks still leading the way right now. Around turn 1 right now, looks like 5 trucks coming around into turn 1, really stretching that fuel mileage out. That's going to could make it interesting if we do not get another yellow flag.
Oh,
there's a tangle of the pits.
The 40 truck spinning around. Zachary Groover is facing the wrong direction in pit road as he got nailed trying to enter the pit lane. So big problems for Groover. That's going to cost him some much needed time on the racetrack. And we'll take a look back at that one. We'll take a look back at that one in just a moment. But here will come everybody else into pit road. Bailey locking it up to avoid the back end of the Bill Hales, and they're able to get into pit road just fine as well. We'll see if we can't catch Groover.
Yeah, that was it's a little hairy getting these things off of that high banking, that 30+ degree banking down into pit lane, and as you see, everybody trying to get under speed to 41 locks up and just gets into the 40. So tough break right there for those two trucks. The 41 just locking up those back wheels and getting sideways and getting a little hairy.
Yeah, no kidding, and a lot of the drivers behind had to do a lot of pedaling to avoid that mess as well entering pit road. Good show from everybody else. That could have been a lot worse and taken out a good number of trucks. No caution because it was down on pit road, so no reason for that yellow flag to come out. They'll be halfway home this time by, and now there's a lot of field separation to this one. Scott Rankin still, well, he's showing in the pit road for some reason on the timing overlay. He is very much not. He is definitely out on the racetrack right now with Carson Batesall in tow for the rest of this field. So far, keeping themselves relatively sorted in line, and I think Rankin, well, not quite, barely, so he'll pull around for the race lead with a good chunk of drivers to the outside. One to the outside wall. That's the 33 of Young.
Yeah, Rankin leading the way on that inside lane right now. Josh Berry in the second spot. Carson Breitall in third. Those top guys are still nose to tail coming into turns 1 and 2. Good group of the way, but like you said, you know, we were talking about it earlier, once these pit stops come in, that's when the separation is really going to come in, and hanging on to that lead pack, trying to get plenty of friends out there so that you can run with and stay up there. But that 40 truck back out on the track right now, and he is down quite a ways in the standings right now, all the way down to the 36th spot is Zachary Gruber after that rough spin out in pit lane.
And it'll be halfway home this time by. 45 down, 45 to go. And Scott Rankin continuing on a big charge up at the head of this field. It'll be Wanta Goons running 1-2 down the inside line. They managed to get their momentum. I tell you what, Josh Baer was looking set to try to get his truck into the lead. If the 33 didn't slap the wall coming out of 4, he absolutely would have gotten there.
Oh, absolutely. But we've got that second pack closing in fast. Paul Witt turning the fastest lap of the race, a 46.9 last time by. And it looks like he's got his teammate right behind him in the 0.53 of Jim Duda right behind him, pushing him along. These guys are flying, trying to get back up into the front.
Charging to the front of the field, Mike Allen quickly usurping Paul Witt's fastest lap of the race with a 46.8. Witt will cross the line in 47.1, so still not bad, and that is still 0.4 of a second quicker than the race lead is right now. So Paul Witt is on the move. Look out for one more lap truck. That's the 26 Nova Swafford going down the lap.
Yeah, that outside lane of just 2 trucks is really pulling on this field right now. They are doing it by themselves, running that high line. Rankin still on that inside lane, hanging on to the lead. Beitel running in second, but here comes Witt and Duda on that high lane, running around the outside. Down into the tri-oval right now. You still got Rankin leading the way, but Witt now on his door handle as they're coming down into turn 1 right now. Rankin leading the way, coming by with a 47.5 that time by. Paul Witt with another 47.5. So those top 2 guys still about the same lap times last time by as they're coming down the back straightaway. Everybody getting grouped into that 2x2 now. So after that last pit stop, everybody's been able to kind of tuck in with their friends and get all grouped back together. And we've got a whole group of about 24 trucks in that lead pack right now.
I tell you, you call that one to perfection. 24 on the dot is in this leading pack. Then 25th is where Christopher Howell sits, taking up train number 2, with which holds Rapp, Raymond, Howard, McRoberts, Roy, and more. I tell you what, it's not been the day for the defending champions of the series veterans. Christopher Howell and Aaron Raymond both down in the bottom half of the field right now. And they've been there for a pretty good chunk of this race. They both started there earlier on. It does make you wonder if these are still going to be 2 of the main title contenders at season's end.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised to see Raymond that low, even in qualifying, to see him that far back. So, but him being back in that 20-something position right now, that is a tough one spot. After watching him in the Super Speedway Blitz, he was out in front in pretty much everyone and did some impressive driving in that sessions. But They are a little ways back. They might be waiting for that caution flag, hoping for a caution flag, as long as it's not them causing it.
That's always the tricky thing, especially in plate tracks. You want the yellow, you don't want to be the one that brings it out. Right now, I think they don't have much to worry about. If they can stay single file, they should be smooth sailing. It's everybody up here, this leading pack, that's got a lot to worry about, and for very good reason. Anything that happens up here means absolute disaster for everybody else trying to get themselves sorted. Witt and Rankin going to try to make a lunge down in towards turn numbers 3 and 4. And this gap continuing to remain razor tight as 40 laps will be hit this time by. It's been a long and a very clean race here tonight from the TNGG IEL Truck Series. I could not have asked so far for any better way to open up a championship.
No, absolutely. This is a great showing from the TNGG League at the TNGG 225 here at Daytona International Speedway. One of my favorite tracks to run on. I've been there just to do like a tour, and if you've ever been to the Speedway, you'd be surprised how narrow these turns are, and it's crazy to think that these guys are going 3 and 4 wide around these turns. And if you're there standing on that apron looking up at the wall, it's like, wow, how do they get that many trucks, cars side by side through there?
I sometimes wonder how the heck do they pave this place? I mean,
right?
We're talking, what, 30 degrees in the banking. That's no small feat. I mean, it's to the point where the banking even caused 2 jet dryers to crash into each other before the Daytona 500 itself in turn 1. So it's enough to do a number on a vehicle. So it's one of those situations, right? No camera can ever do it justice. The only way to really get an idea as to how this track actually looks is to be there in person. Certainly the in-sim cameras don't do it justice.
No, absolutely. And my dad did some short track racing, and then we went to a race that had 32 degrees banking on the turns, and he took me on a lap around after the race was over in his truck, and I was sitting on the outside lane, and as we got into the banking, I slid down his seat and ended up next to him. Because there was so much banking, I just slid right down the seat. So it is insane when you're actually there. Seeing it like this right now doesn't look like it's much, but when you're down on the ground floor, it is completely different.
Running down the back straightaway, and kind of staying on a little banking discussion. Was it at Bristol where they did a demonstration of that, where they like rolled a bowling ball down the banking and it broke in half when it hit the inside wall? I'm thinking of Bristol. Am I not incorrect with that?
I think you are correct, yes.
And the banking here is steeper, which says it'd probably break just by hitting the apron.
Yeah, no, it's insane. I mean, like I said, I've done the tour here, and we've done the little cart that's around on the apron in there, and I just looked up, and it's got to be at least 2 to 3 stories to the top wall from the apron itself. So it is insane to see it in person.
Well, they last pitted on lap 41 to 43. We're sitting on lap 54 now, so we're only about 5 laps away from our next pit stop run. The pit stops just come and go, right? It is rapid fire at Daytona, and it will be at Talladega as well. So not too far away from that third run of green flag pit stops on the night, 4th pit stops overall. And we're still not done yet. I think we're going to have at least 1 more window in us after this one, maybe even 2 for a splash and go.
No, absolutely. But one thing that's a little interesting right now is your top 2 trucks, Duda and Witt, both pit on the same lap. So they're on 13 laps right now. The trucks behind them, Rankin, Slagle, Breitall, all those guys are on 11 laps right now. So they've got 2-lap advantage on Witt and Duda. Because Witt and Duda pit just before him. So this could play into some serious games later on. We're coming up on 55 down and 56 to go. Pit strategy is going to come up. If we're going to stay green, this could get real interesting. But like I said, right around 75, I think business is really going to pick up, and we're going to see a lot of moving around.
35 laps to go this time by, as this pack is still among the strongest we've got all around the racetrack. Christopher Howell sits down in 25th, and that pack has remained unchanged as well. They still run single file, and we lost about a second since the last time we checked on them, so they are not making bad time at all. One caution, they will very easily be back into the running order. Want to kind of, since you got some time here, want to go over the schedule a little bit coming on up for the season as Jim Duda clears down to the bottom. Thought we were about to get a repeat of what we just saw the last time to bring out our first yellow flag on the night, but we'll be running to Atlanta Motor Speedway next week, but it's the old version of Atlanta, the 2008 Atlanta, which is, it's debatable which is the better one, right? A lot of folks like the older version. I don't mind the newer version per se. I wish they'd done it in Texas instead of Atlanta, but it's not the worst thing in the world. They could have made it Texas. Phoenix and Iowa will take it up for a 1 mile and in fact, it'll be 1 mile and under for a trio. Phoenix, Iowa, and Bristol will kick us off and end off March. New Hampshire then for race 7. Then it's Charlotte, Nashville, Talladega, Darlington. Martinsville will make its return on May 18th. Dover, Rockingham, Texas, North Wilkesboro, and then we finish it off at Gateway. It's an interesting venue for a season finale of the Worldwide Technology Raceway, but perhaps a fitting one, right? It is, after all, the track where we saw Christopher Howell clinch that championship last season.
Yeah, that is a great schedule. Good mix of tracks. They're going to be, the big super speedway plate races, but, the down and dirty short tracks. That's where it's going to get a lot of fun, is watching these guys coming door handle to door handle on those short tracks, getting hard on the brakes to get into those turns. As we got still that second group starting to break up just a little bit, but they're still about 26 seconds back of that lead pack. As we're starting to see guys starting to come in for pits.
Long stop for Kyle Howard as he has been hit for speeding on pit road. Howard, of course, one of the drivers along with John Holliday that were in that second pack. They have just bailed out, so that second pack has lost a lot of steam. Not enough to make them sitting ducks yet. Team IEL still run 1-2 up the way as we approach the final third of this race. And will we see any pit stops this time by, we're right about lap 17, and we sure will. Witt and Duda are both jumping down to the bottom. They are the only two trucks in a pit road. That could be detrimental for your two race leaders.
Yeah, they were coming up on 17 lap stint right there. So that was time for them to fuel. But that second group right now, the ones that are out in front right now, they're on lap 15. So they still have probably a good 2 laps before they have to pit. So these guys are really running. I think these guys were hoping for more caution flags, but it is definitely good to see these guys out there in green, stretching them legs out, but definitely going to be a good group of trucks coming in for pits right now.
The two Wantagoon drivers lead the way. We'll see if they'll make their way into pit road this time by, or if they're going to stay over one more. Michael Gudger will lead the next batch of trucks in. And that's going to be about, oh, look, yeah, big pit check, and that is going to force Thomas Lane Jr. to miss pit road.
Wow, I don't know what quite happened there. It looked like one truck was trying to come in, but then changed his mind and got into Thomas. I'm not sure.
Looked like he got loose, locked the rears coming in, and just slammed into the door of the 38. We'll take a look back, though, and we'll be able to get a proper view on what happened here. Watch. Oh, so they're okay. Wow. So there was one truck that did come down and try to make it into pit road. There was a hip check on the outside, but it was not who we thought it was. Right there, that Ford F-150, the two tried to come into pit road, missed the bar entirely, and sent the 33 into Thomas Lane Jr. That very easily could have been an absolute disaster for the whole field. That was Jordan Young. Take a ride on board with him and watch as he narrowly avoids disaster.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. We did just have an accident in pit lane, too, as these trucks are still rolling. But, man, that was close. But we did just have the 03 get tangled up with somebody in pits just a minute ago, getting spun out. He was able to get it turned back around and going again, but costly tangle right there for the 03.
That is Rick Schneider that would have had that problem coming down into pit road. And as Scott Rankin will take the rest of the field into pit road, we'll try to... Well, there goes Batesall spinning around. So the mistakes mounting on pit road. Batesall will spin it around. And, well, with that, we will now try to get that look on with Rick Schneider on what happened to him entering pit road. He's funneling in, and whoa, somebody way in hot down to the inside line. Tried to go around the outside, and well, it's all fine here, so no problems yet for Schneider. Oh, he was trying to turn it in for his pit stall, turned across the nose of the 33, and he went pretty hard into the pit wall.
Yeah, that's like we talked though. I mean, we talked earlier about coming off that high banking down to pit lane. That is scary. That is tough for these trucks. That's why you see some of these guys dive way on the inside, trying to get away, trying to be able to keep the truck square and get hard on the brakes and try to get settled in before you get across that line, because you have to be down to that speed limit when you come across that line, or else you're going to have to do a drive-through, which is even worse.
Very split call from a lot of drivers coming down to pit road. I'm seeing a lot of drivers taking fuel only, but a lot more taking 2 tires. Bill Hale's one of the ones that took fuel only, but he is all by himself. Scott Rankin took 2 tires on that stop, so he is going to be running him down. Right now, it is a 4-truck pack to lead the way up in front. Zane Bailey came in all by himself, so he's going to be in the worst shape right now. Here's the biggest pack, though, from right now, 5th, going to be up to 4th on back, and they're trying to run down the top 3.
Yeah, they should be able to get them closed in really quick, because we're at the 63 lap mark. So these guys are going to have to make one more stop. If we stay under green, these guys are definitely going to have to make one more stop. We've got about 27 laps to go. That lead truck still is being shown is Bailey as he came out of the pits, but that group of Hales, Rankin, and Slagle are reeling him in and going down on the inside lane, just blowing past him coming off of turns 3 and 4. He tries to get tucked in behind him to try to save some of the draft, but here comes that big monster of a pack of trucks, about 12 trucks, all running together side by side across the start-finish line, trying to reel these guys back in. Then you got a group back about another 4 seconds back of 2 trucks running side nose to tail, trying to reel these guys in. That is the 71 and the 59 of Mike Campbell, and it looks like Robert Amaral trying to run together right now, trying to reel these guys back in. But you know, we talk about the, you know, being green flag right now and running by yourself is not ideal. So these big pack is going to swallow up that front group here really quick.
It sure will, and it's now going to be a big question, right, as to when do you come down for that final pit stop on the afternoon. Bill Hales still leading the way, but that very easily could change in a hurry. Paul Witt going to blitz around the outside of Zane Bailey and try to take up the race lead once again, as this pack going to form itself up and get back into full racing action right now. Witt and Duda running up on the top side of the racetrack, and they're trying to put themselves further up, but I think having to go to the outside cut the momentum off. They're still making time, but not nearly quick enough. It'll be just enough, though, to put Paul Witt back to the point with Duda.
Yeah, those 2 teammates of those IEL trucks are doing the duty, coming around the outside. Oh, getting a little hairy. That's the one thing you don't want to do, is wipe that front bumper off on that, the back bumper off on that front bumper. And that's when things get a little scary. But lap 65 in the books, coming up around to do 66 right now. Those 2 trucks round that outside. The 429 of Paul Witt back out in front. Jim Duda just pushing them along, coming around turns 2.
Right now, you got 19 trucks all packed up on a big paddle pack. Here leading the way, we have 25 laps to go from Daytona. 1 caution on the afternoon. We're going to take a step back as Paul Witt clears the bottom. You're watching the TNGG 225 in the opener of the IEL Truck Series on Green Flag TV. 20 laps to go this time by. We are still working green flag conditions with so far one yellow flag on the afternoon. That came at about lap 23-24 when Jim Duda spun up high in turn number 3 on a single truck spin. Ever since, we've gone, well, not incident-free, we've certainly gone caution-free. And that's a trend that you and I both love to see, Mike. I mean, it has been a phenomenal race so far this afternoon. And it hasn't even been dull either, right? I mean, a lot of times super speed races can get a bit single file. That has been the case. It's been go, 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 but it's been organized chaos, I like to call it.
No, absolutely. You guys are doing a fantastic job. As we saw during the break, they got into a 3-wide stint for a couple of laps, and they were able to shuffle back into that 2-wide and not have any chaos, not have any wrecks. But as you can see, things get shuffled around real quick as we've got Paul Witt leading the way, but his good buddy Jim Duda back in the 7th spot right now. So they were nose to tail for the longest time and really showing the field the fast way around. And once Paul jumped down on that inside lane, it really kind of dropped Jim Duda back. But Jim's on that inside lane, about 5 trucks back, still hanging in. And like we said, you know, it's still anybody's race, but we've got 19 to go. We still have 1 pit stop. If these guys stay green the rest of the way out, we do have to stop one more time. So we've got about 4 laps to go before we start seeing pit stops again. As these guys are coming around into 3 and 4, still side by side with Witt and Rankin leading the groups by.
We are only about 1 lap away from when you are guaranteed to be able to make it to the end of this race. So it's not going to be long before we see drivers come down for their final scheduled pit stops, but it still leaves the question, right, are you good to go if you get an overtime attempt? I think we only get, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we only get 2 overtime attempts here in TNGG. I know it's been a season. You'd think I would know this by now, but it's either 2 or 3 for the Saturday Night Truck Series. But, you know, at Super Speedways in particular, you burn a lot of fuel just pacing around those overtime laps.
No, absolutely. And that's definitely, I would not look at going, oh, they're getting close up there. But I would not look at trying to come in too early. I want to definitely get enough fuel to make it to the end. But, you know, do you overfuel the truck to make sure that you have that for that overtime? Because things can happen. You know, green, white checkers, the overtime, anything can happen. So, you know, do you want to actually make sure you get overfuel, but then you might end up behind a couple of trucks that short fueled. So, you know, it's a crazy tactic that we got to play with, and anybody's game. But looks like a couple trucks are coming around on lap 16 of their stint, so they could be coming in next time by. So we'll have to see if these guys play out. Paul Witt leading the way in the 429 on that inside lane.
Paul Witt, of course, one of the bigger names, at least on the plate tracks coming into this one. He really made a lot of waves in the Super Speedway Blitz this last season. He was one of the big front runners, especially at Daytona and Talladega. So Paul Witt showing that he's at least a threat to be reckoned with on the faster pack racing tracks like this one. Whether that speed will continue into the regular series season remains to be seen. Brad Slagle in the meantime, he's trying to overtake Paul Witt for that race. He's trying to push Scott Rank to the point as well. Slagle is a unique driver to me. I think he finished 3rd in the point standings last season. Now, Slagle did start really strong in the championship. He actually was leading the points for about the first 10 races or so, and then eventually lost that points lead and never recovered. He's one of those drivers that always has the pace to fight near the front, but something always went wrong that costed him big time in the points that kept him further back.
Yeah, and here they come, diving in for what could possibly be their last pit stop. You see the 2 IEL trucks coming in nose to tail. You've got Witt and Duda, those teammates battling, coming in to stop. But you also got Jimmy in truck number 11 joining them. So that could be a little help in that draft when they get out on the track after their pit stop. But this is where you want to see, you know, are you going to overfill? Are you going to underfill? You never know. But if we end up in an overtime, you'll be able to come in for a stop. But let's see what happens with 15 laps to go.
Bill Hales leads the way from the inside line. Now that Colemansberger and Moore have come down into pit row, the 53, will he come down this time by? He will not, but a lot of others sure will. Vic Nair, Simmons, Bailey, McConnell, Dunning, and Moore. Oh, to the lane, and oh, I thought for a hot minute we just saw Zane Bailey go off the side of pit road.
I'm wondering if he got it slowed down enough, because he came in hot crossing that line. So hopefully he doesn't have to come through for a drive-through, but we'll have to see as this second group comes in. Your third group still on the back straightaway now, as you see him coming in off that straightaway. And hard on the brakes here, trying to get it slowed down.
No way.
It was awfully fast.
I mean, tell you what, he's out in the 7 seconds. It looked like he did get that thing slowed down in time. Good show.
Oh, and we got a truck stopped coming into pit lane. Oh, and he just towed in. So I'm not sure what happened. That was a black truck.
Schneider.
Yeah.
Take a look at what happened to Schneider here in his attempt at entering pit road, and he's coming in hot with the others, and oh, he got nailed from behind and went hard into the inside wall.
Wow, that like we've been saying this whole entire time, coming off that banking is brutal in these trucks, and just he slowed down a little too much, and the truck behind was not prepared for that.
That's those hazards about entering into pit road, and it's like I said, slowing down from about 180 miles an hour down to 55 in just a few seconds. That's not the hard part. It's avoiding everyone around you doing the exact same thing. That's where the challenge comes in. Lane, McRoberts, Rucker, and Van Leer all into pit road this time by as well. Slam it onto the binders, and they will drift. They'll continue to make their slow march now into pit road. It's really one at a time, it feels. No, not really a whole lot of big battle packs. Everyone just kind of being nice and conservative and coming into their own little groups now.
Yeah, Rankin leading that lead pack right now. I bet these guys are going to be coming in for their stop this time by, as these guys are coming around to complete their 18th lap. So this is a long stint for these guys. They've been able to draft and sit back there for a while and conserve that fuel. They should be jumping down off of turn 4 into pit lane as they come around this time by. Let's see what this group does. Every single one of them except for one, all jumping into pit lane, getting it slow down at that line, trying to, oh man, they get tangled in there, as we got a couple trucks jumping out as well. So this could get interesting as Rankin leads that group in for a final stop. We've got 11 laps to go. What an amazing night of racing we've had here, Nolan. This one yellow flag, these guys are just putting on a fantastic show.
Zachary Gruber was very conservative in trying to make sure he didn't run over anybody on the pit exit. He was very much tiptoeing out of pit road there. Scott Rankin is out and back onto the racetrack, so he is going to be fully good to go now to the end of this race, pitting with just 12 laps to go. And now here is the big battle pack right now that everybody's keeping tabs on. Headed up by the 12 of Jordan Vic Nair, trying to make their way up and around the racetrack, and they're going to pass by a good chunk of drivers making their way back onto the racetrack. Now it's just a mad scramble to get those fields sorted and set up for this final stint.
Ooh, 3 wide as you see the 75 truck just diving through there as McConnell trying to get up in front of that slower pack, as these trucks are all different speeds. You got those guys that have been on the track for a few laps and the guys that just coming out. That is a big speed difference, but these guys should be getting grouped in. We've coming up on 10 laps to go. Rankin still hanging on out in front, but here comes Bailey on that outside to take over the lead now. Zane Bailey back out in front. Oh, as they get checked up just a little bit. Rankin falling back.
Yeah, Brad Slagle, I think, putting the outside wall entering turn 1, and that costed him and Scott Rankin a lot of speed. We're trying to get itself sorted now, and I think we have managed to avoid, for the most part, the worst of it. But it got a little bit intense there for a hot minute. Want to once again just put up thanks once again. We talked about it in the pre-race. Want to mention it one final time, though, that tonight's race is sponsored to you by Cecil Ross from Network Alliance for Veterans, as they're covering the entirety of the season as well. So a big thanks to Mr. Ross, of course, out of Indiana, and his whole organization for coming on board for the TNGG IEL Truck Series and sponsoring them on their great drive. It's been a show to remember for sure. This time by at Daytona, the last season opener we had here at Daytona, If we had about 5 yellow flags by now, we weren't looking at just one. Oh, went to the outside of Vic there.
I told you right about now is when it was going to start getting business. Is going to start picking up as they're going 3 wide into 3 and 4 right now. That top pack of about 16 trucks are running around, getting close. Oh, they're stacking up, coming. Oh, here it is.
Trouble out of turn number 4, spinning down to the inside. Somehow drivers avoid the melee. Waylon McConnell spins into pit road, and the yellow flag is out for the second time tonight with just 8 laps to go.
That could have been a whole lot worse.
That had no business being as small as it was.
Yeah, that could have been a whole lot worse. Everybody doing a fantastic job of avoiding that spinning 75 truck. As you see him jockeying for positions, these guys trying to go 3 wide. And there it is. Oh.
Bit of netcode going on there.
Yeah.
Just tried to shut the door, and Vic Nair was there. Spins the 75 out, rebounds off of Kyle Howard. That should have been a big record of itself. I think that netcode blanket you just saw saved this pack. Oh,
man.
We have got to get a look on who that other truck was on the outside. I know for a fact that Jim Duda was the one that escaped disaster down to the bottom. Take a look on board of the 053 here. This is going to be wild.
Yeah, he saw the wreck coming, backed off as hard as he could. And here they come, sliding down in and across his nose. Wow. Good driving from Duda to able to hang on to that one.
Nosed it into the back of a couple of drivers, but for the most part was able to escape that relatively unscathed, all things considered. And you take a look from the back, and I think it was the 13 truck that just about avoided this mess, as well as it was the 13 of Mike Bagwell that almost got into this. Right on board with Bagwell.
Stacked up just a little bit, and around he goes.
Oh my
man,
word.
Some good driving right there. So avoiding that what could have been a complete chaos. But I think you're right. I think that a little bit of netcode might have helped this a little bit, because he should have gotten into somebody else on that outside lane earlier. Oh, that white truck. Yeah, he should have got into that white truck as he started to spin, and did not. So thankfully, that's probably the first time I've been thankful that there was a netcode and not having any problems with it.
It's not often that we say those words, right? Thank you for netcode. it's a very rare trend that we tend to say that. I want to take one more look. This will be on board with the back of Kyle Howard. Now watch, this is all going to develop on the outside line. As this whole mess develops, you can see this right there. He absolutely got into the 29.
Yeah.
Can't tell me he didn't.
Yeah, that was thankful for netcode there for sure.
Well, we will restart with 6 laps left to go in the TNGG 225 on just our second yellow flag of the race. I know it says first. It is the second. Trust us on that one. There were some overlay issues we were fighting with behind the scenes that involved a little reset of everything. So that's why it says first, not second. It is the second caution flag, but definitely brings us to a close, the longest green flag run. Call me crazy, Mike. I don't think this is going to be the last one either.
No, I truly don't either. I mean, you're stacking up a field of, what do we have still running here? 37
Everyone.
trucks. Yeah, 37 trucks still running together. So you're stacking this field up with 6 laps to go. Yeah, this is... they've proved us wrong so far, and I hope they prove us wrong for the rest, but I highly doubt it. I see that we're going to have at least one more.
Zane Bailey maintaining his run in the race lead for now, with a good shot to win this race potentially after all that carnage. And if plate racing is definitely your thing, and you haven't had quite enough of it yet throughout the course of the season, well, be sure to tune in tomorrow night on Sunday as the ASRL Next Gen Cup Series will swing out from Talladega Super Speedway at 7:25 p.m. Eastern Time. The OMSRL Truck Series will slow it on down to Rockingham on Tuesday night at 8:45. Beer League will return on Wednesday. No venue confirmed as of yet. We'll find that out this coming Sunday as well. But a lot of interesting shows coming up on Green Flag TV to close out the month of February, and a lot of stuff coming up in March as well. The High Tide Racing League will make its return. We'll get Josh Baird at the broadcast booth for the first time ever for the High Tide Racing League races. They're switching to the Gen 4 car for the next gen. And then, of course, for the open wheel lovers, Classic IndyCar Series coming at you on March 24th. What a birthday present on a Sunday, right? Being able to call the first IndyCar race on Green Flag TV. I'm definitely looking forward to that one and more. There's a lot that's going to go down throughout March as well and beyond, and a lot that I absolutely cannot wait for, including the finish of this race.
No, absolutely. This is going to be a barn burner here at the end, but it is definitely good to see the Indy cars back on the service. Good to officially get them back, and going to have some great racing with those. But we are coming down to the green flag right here as that iRacing unbadged truck makes that dive down into the pit lane. The top two trucks are leading the way right now with Zane Bailey and Michael Gudger. Green flag as they come through the tri-oval one more time.
That flag man drops the hammer once more as this field thundering down in towards turn number 1 once again. Bailey holding clear for now. It's a long way to go yet, though, before that checkered flag. We're 3 wide already with 5 to go up on the top.
Get settled back into that 2x2 as they're coming off of the second turn. Down the back straight they come, rocketing down with 5 laps to go. Bailey in that all-blue 20 truck leading the way. Right behind him is the 429 truck of Paul Witt in second. Paul has been flying around here today, and he is tucked into that second spot. Right behind him is the 37 truck of Jamie Lee Dunnan in third as we're coming off of turn 4 into the tri-oval one more time, finishing our 85th lap. 4 laps to go as we come across the line one more time.
A caution at this point forces us into overtime. And did we ever get confirmation if this is a 2 overtime attempt or a 3 overtime attempt league, or is it even just 1?
I did not have time to read the looks of this. We've been going green flag this whole time. We haven't had a chance.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? I think it's 2. 2 rings a bell. I remember us having to take a couple of green white check attempts in one race in particular. Meanwhile, going 3 wide again. Drivers making moves on the top. Bill Hale's trying to gun it around the outside. He's going to take the 15, who will try to go with them, and there's one under the truck. That'll, I think, be the 81 of Burch trying to go up there with them as well as, boy, a lot of chaos right now into the mid-pack. One to the outside wall. We're going to be spinning off a turn off at the tri-oval into the infield, and somehow again, oh, well, never mind. There we go. I thought we avoided it. We did not. The 26 up and over. We got the big one in turn 1. We got 2 big ones. A second wreck coming through 2.
Wow. That was pretty that was rough.
That is the big one. That's about as big of a big one as you could get. Ouch, a lot of trucks caught up. 26 annihilated.
And I thought I saw one truck go upside down. I wasn't quite sure through all the smoke.
It was the 26.
Yep.
But we'll look back and find out what happened to Swafford and Moore in the mad dash. Watch us right up there. Simmons hooked, I think that was Howell, down into Dudon. Then Batesall comes up and nosed it into the 60. That is what spun a lot of them around, and it's just on from there. The whole pack checks up, and there's nothing you can do. There goes the 26 hard into the wall, and he got pushed up and under. Not quite up and over, but onto his side for sure as they slammed back down to earth.
Yeah, and that was the first wreck, and then you move on into turn 2, and that's where that second melee came. So, it looked like it was just everybody getting tangled up right here, getting sideways, and then everybody jostling for position as they're coming around the second turn. Let's see where this started. Oh, the 3 wide section. There it is. The 53 came down just a little bit and knocked down into that 11 truck and pushed him up. Jimmy getting the short end of that stick, just running on that inside lane by himself and just getting tangled up and taking the rest of the field with him.
That was the monumental pileup for a lot of drivers in that one. We'll try to get a look back first with the 26, of course, and we'll get another chance to jump back to that wreck further down to the field that happened. And there you saw the 26 slam hard into the wall and then up the road. Vic Nair with this whole mess, and Mike Allen getting involved in a big way as well down to the bottom side of the racetrack. That's a tough break, right? I mean, there's nothing you can really do in that situation other than just try to shoot the gap and hope for the best.
Yeah, and I can now confirm that there is just one green-white checkered that we're going to get for this. So this could get interesting here when we get still going. They still got the lights on the pace truck, so we've still got another lap or so before we get back to racing.
They're taking a couple of looks back at full speed for this one and kind of getting a good angle on how this whole thing really developed. Noah Swafford, one of the drivers that took the worst out of that one for sure. It looked like they were almost 4 wide for a moment. You kind of saw that down the road. I'll get another look at that one, but that was kind of my take out of this, was that they went 4 wide, and that is really what caused the majority of this pileup.
Yeah, a couple of guys started coming off the turns and slapping into that outside wall, and when they do that, it wants to shoot them back down on the inside.
Yep.
And then the one black truck, that black, it was at 88 or 50 right there with the yellow on it. That one was, I mean, he was driving that thing as hard as he could, trying to keep it straight, and just couldn't save it enough. Kept overcorrecting it.
A lot of trucks have had to use their one quick repair now that they have available to them as a result of that, of those 2 big wrecks. And, well, now we get to the problem, right, of overtime. Do these drivers that pitted just shy of that have the fuel to make it? You see a lot of guys like Paul Witt and Brad Slago clutching, coasting on the apron, trying to save enough fuel to make it the 2 laps that they have to be able to go to the end of this race. It's also worth noting that while these guys have the quick repairs to save them on this track, they're not going to have that everywhere. In fact, I was talking to Brad Slagle just before this race, one of the guys that was instrumental in, formulating the new updated rules package for the upcoming season. There's only fast repairs available at 4 tracks: Daytona, Talladega, Bristol, and Martinsville. Everywhere else, it's one and done.
Yeah, that's going to definitely make it some interesting races coming later in the season, but the lights are out on that iRacing pace truck as Paul Witt leading the way right now. Paul has done 15 laps on his fuel tank, so he should be good to go the rest of the way with the green-white checkered, since we only have 1. So he should be good to go the rest of the way, but still going to be tight on fuel for him. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Oh boy. 5 miles of racing, 2 laps. If they make it to the white flag, then it's all bets are off. Whatever happens on the white flag lap goes. The only question now is going to be, do we make it to the white flag? If we don't, this race finishes under caution.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as we're inching our way down the back straightaway. We're down to, what, 37 running trucks right now, 36 running trucks on the track right now. So we said it earlier, it's not always the guy that's out in front right now that could be the guy that pulls it off. Is Rankin going to be able to jump up from the 6th or 7th spot in that 49 truck? You've got trucks that are even farther back, like the 29 truck of Michael Allen back there in 13th. Could something happen to that front pack and he makes his way through? We'll have to see as that iRacing truck leads them down off of turn 4, about ready to make that aggressive move into pit lane. See how he does here. Right down to the pit lane. Here we go for our one and only green-white checker finish. Let's see how these guys do.
Green flag is out. 2 laps to go for the world center of racing as the pack hightails it out of the tri-oval and back down the front stretch. Did not take long for Howell and the Techford Troops Tundra to jump to the top shelf. Witt and Slago still dead heat down to the turn number 1.
Still running 2 by 2. We got 3 wide back there in the back of the pack, but the 429 of Paul Witt leading the way, coming off of 2. Remember, this is our green-white checkered. Let's see how these guys do. Coming down the back straightaway. Wow, we're going 3 wide. Guys jumping across the line everywhere. The 429 of Paul Witt leading the way, but that 052 of Brad Slagle right on his door handle. Tucked in behind Paul Witt, though, is Zane Bailey in that 20 truck as we're coming across the tri-oval for the white flag. This is one more lap to go.
We will make it back. The race is now official. Whatever happens, happens. Paul Witt trying to stay out in front. They say the last place you want to be when you're on a green and checkered finish at Daytona is in the lead. It puts you the most vulnerable, but not when you're hopping out in, not when you don't have the opportunity to hop out in front. We got crashing in the background. Multiple trucks spinning around, sliding, slamming down as a whole host of drivers collected on the back straightaway. We'll keep eyes up front. Paul Witt trying to hang on. Brad Slagle looking to make a run around the top side of the racetrack. Last season, it all came down to a last lap melee coming out of turn number 4. Bailey to the top shelf, trying to make the lunge. He'll be pushed by Brad Slagle. Can he make that look? Trying to get around for the race win. He's going to get around the top, and Zane Bailey going to take victory as it'll be Josh Berry hooking one of those cars into the infield grass. Paul Witt will lose it out. And Zane Bailey with a shocker of a win goes from pusher to leader, and he takes it in towards turn number 1.
Wow, what a finish that was. Zane playing that draft to perfection coming off of turn 4. Getting a good push from Brad Slagle to get him out front. Man, what a finish that was, and what a spectacular race we had tonight.
Absolutely incredible. Want to get a look real quick back on that big wreck that we had coming over in towards turn numbers 3 and 4. And it started off with Christopher Howell on the top side of the racetrack. This was in 1 and 2, excuse me. From the air, the 3 wide couldn't work. The 5 got hooked, and it was on from there as everybody got piled up in this one, and at this point everybody's just trying to shove their way through to the point, right? You gotta go, go, go. You cannot afford to wait. Howe got kicked up skyward. What a wild way, though, to close out racing action as Bailey burns it down on the front stretch.
Well-deserved victory donuts from Bailey. Man, what a finish that was for the number 20.
Absolutely incredible scenes for the driver of the number 20 truck. Definitely deserving this chance here to burn it down on the front straightaway. I am going to get one more look back. I don't usually bring attention to a lot of the post-race wrecks that we see because, you know, it's post-race wrecks. It's not usually too much to note, but we're going to get one look because there was a nade that, boy, he made a name for himself, that's for sure. It was one of the drivers that finished into the top 15. Bailey will continue to burn that thing down on the front straightaway. But one more time, let's take a look back here on Gonzalez. he found something special down to the inside line. If the beer league ever goes racing again at Daytona, I am absolutely pointing this out to them as a must-have after the race. Watch Gonzalez here, as he is going to take that one full throttle to the inside, finds a perfect little jump on the inside, sends that truck skyward, and then barrel rolls it through the infield grass. It's moments like these that I love about iRacing. We can just enjoy ourselves after the checkered flag.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. Kind of like the jump on Mount Panorama, but that was definitely an interesting line.
I think that's awesome. You get more air there.
Definitely.
Throughout all of that, Bailey still doing donuts and burned down. I think finally he is forced to stop. But what a wild night of racing it was. Let's take a rundown top to bottom of your official post-race results at the end of the night. Zane Bailey taking it all by half a hundredth over Brad Slagle. Michael Gudger brings it home in third, with Jamie O'Lee Dunning recovering up to a nice 4th position. In 5th was, of course, Scott Rankin. Josh Berry was in 6th with Tom Golker in 7th. Paul Witt will finish this one off in 8th. Charlie Birch in 9th, and Jordan Jung will round out the top 10.
Finishing in the 11th spot was Aaron Raymond, working his way up 19 spots. So good run from Aaron. And finishing in the 12th spot, Mr. Air himself, Luigi Diaz Gonzalez. Luigi up 24 spots. So great run for him. Finishing in the 13th spot, Ryan McRoberts. In 14th, Michael Allen. 15th spot goes to Jimmy Coleman-Sperger. And the 16th spot is the 59 truck of Carson Breitall. In 17th is Lieben Van Leer. In the 18th, Dale Rapp. 19th spot was Dylan Simmons. And in the 20th spot, John Bawalda Jr.
21st spot will hold Jim Duda with Thomas Lee Jr. 22nd. Bill Hales was in 23rd. Christopher Howell 24th. Waylon McConnell, Robin Amaro, Mike Campbell Jr., Kevin Roy, Zachary Groover, and Jordan Vicknair round out the top 30.
And rounded out the back of the 30s there. In the 31st is Mike Badwell. Brett Rucker in 32nd, Rick Snyder 33rd, 34th John Holliday, 35th is going to Kyle Howard, 36th Noah Swafford, and 37th last truck running recorded Brandon Gruber.
And that will be it then for your official post-race results. Let's get the chance here to now go back and talk to, of course, some of the big drivers in this race that finished this one on the podium, and they will be looking to kick things off first and foremost with the driver that comes home at the end of it all. It is Zane Bailey joining us up here in Victory Lane. And Zane, what a wild night of racing for you. You come home plus 11 positions, a long race but a fun race, and you cap off the start of the season with the race win. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels great. My first league race in the TNGG Esports iRacing League, and my first league race in general. Yeah, that one was tough because I was starting on the inside. I knew if I was going to get clear, I was going to come to the top. And that worked out, and I got the win.
Overall, I mean, the strategy game was in full force this afternoon. Only 17 to 18 lap fuel runs. It makes it very much a race all about pit strategy, especially in the middle portions. How did you keep that 20 truck up and competitive throughout the course of the night?
Yeah, I usually like to pit with the least amount of drivers as possible because I can just get in and out way quicker.
Fair enough. I mean, it was a strategy that certainly worked for you. It put you in that prime spot for that green-white checkered finish. We will go racing next week at the older version of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Is the plan to try to go back-to-back and potentially put yourself in as a title contender?
Yeah, I'm not great there. I like the new Atlanta a bit better, but I'll try.
I hate to each their own. We'll wish you the best of luck. Then we go racing in Hampton, Georgia 1 week from now. Congratulations on taking your first race win in TNGG. We will see you when we go racing next week then at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yep, thank you.
That was Zane Bailey joining us up here from Victory Lane as we're going to move on down to Brad Slagle, the driver of the 052. So close, yet coming up short. He was the one that pushed Zane Bailey to a win. Mike, you're standing by with number 2.
Hey, Brad, great race. What an incredible race the entire run was. But, I mean, how was your race up until that last green-white checkered? How was your race that entire time?
Oh, it was fun. It was a blast. We had a good race. I wish we would have led a lap to get another bonus point in there to add on to the P2 finish. But we did good. The team executed pretty well for the most part, minus a couple of them. They had a couple of mistakes, pit road mistakes. I made up a lot of ground on them green flag pits. I'm getting better here.
Yeah, no, you did a fantastic job. And I mean, it was a good run up until about lap 70 or so when, you know, we had a good stretch of green flag laps, guys coming in for those green flag stops, and it got a little hairy. Did you have any close battles coming into pit lane? Any close calls? Was the guy sideways or anything?
Oh, yeah. That was Carson. Yeah. So I had a couple of bad instances there. So that one, I was just like, crap. I seen him sliding, seen him sideways. I didn't know where he was going. So I was just kind of checking up to, if I had to go low or high, kind of make sure I was clear either way from other trucks that were driving. I happened to miss that one. I really don't know how close it was. It was kind of just, oh crap, turn, just keep going. I think the next green flag stop after that, the truck in front of me when we pulled off track just stopped way early. And I think I almost locked them up right at the get-go. But I made up a couple spots on them there too.
Nice. And then let's get to that last lap. You had Zane Bailey basically jump out from lower lane up into the upper lane right in front of you, and you just basically pushed him across the line.
Yeah, so when it started, I seen who was in third and fourth, and that was going to be where I would determine where I would want to start at. When I seen Paul wasn't going to take the outside for the restart, I was like, perfect. I'd rather have Gudger push me. I've worked with him during the blitz in the off season, and we worked pretty well together. So I thought that'd be pretty good. Plus Scott was behind him, so we had an alliance with them. We were working together. And then when Zane jumped up in front of me there in 3, I think it was, or on the backstretch, I was just like, I'm foot to the floor. I'm not lifting. And I was hoping I could give him a bump enough to unsettle his truck and kind of push him out the way. And then when we made it to out of turn 4, the exit 4, and I seen he was still there, I was just foot to the floor. Then the inside trucks, I don't know what happened. They just disappeared. Coming to the tri-oval, but I was just didn't have enough time. Didn't have enough space, enough real estate. Another quarter lap, half lap, we'd have been good.
No, but a great race, Brad. A great finish, finishing in second. You got anybody you want to get a shout out or thanks to while we're up here in the booth?
Oh, everybody, Average Joe Motorsports, Chris Howell, bring me on the team last year. Teach me a lot that I know, almost everything that I know about this racing stuff here. Thomas for putting the league on, you guys for broadcasting as always. We do have a new sponsor that came to the league just recently. I can't remember the name right now, and I'm going to shoot myself in the foot if I try to think of it.
That would be the Network Alliance for Veterans.
Yes, thank you, Nolan. Network Alliance for Veterans. I do want to do a big shout out to them. Thank them for tagging on this season and helping this league out.
Awesome. Well, Brad, congratulations on your second place finish. Look forward to seeing you next week at Atlanta.
Yep, thanks. It'll be fun. Watch them right fronts.
All right, Nolan, that was your second place truck of Brad Slagle. I think you've got tied up with the third place truck of Michael Gudger.
Indeed I do, and it is a driver that we didn't see too much of tonight. Michael, I must say, I was surprised to not see him more towards the front. That was one of the big stories about the Super Speedway Blitz, was seeing that 64 truck constantly battling for the top 10 spots. You were much more quiet, though, I have to say, in this race. What changed?
Basically plate race, so don't get wrecked was my big thing. My strategy was just be there at the end. Don't worry about the rest of the race. Just make sure you're there at the end. And obviously, I was there at the end because right now I'm sitting third. So pretty happy with how it turned out.
Talk us through those last 2 laps or so, because I know it came down right to the wire, trying to push your way through whatever you can get. At what point does that don't wreck mentality go out the window?
Yeah, honestly, that green white checker, it just kind of becomes, once you hit the white, it just kind of becomes get to the finish line and it has many positions as possible. I know me and Slagle have worked together before. And of course we had worked well. So of course me and him was great tandem for both of us. I was able to push him up there. I wasn't as great of a pusher through the corners as Zane Bailey was, and that's why he won. But I think we were able to keep ourselves up there and do a great job of, being able to keep us up there and being able to podiums, and I'm pretty proud of that.
You have a good reason to be, too. I mean, you were able to come home, take home a pretty convincing third place. Is this going to be then the start of big things for that 64 truck when we roll into Atlanta?
Of course, my strategy for Atlanta is going to be up front because I don't need to worry about people wrecking me at that point, honestly.
Well, sounds like a fair plan. And I mean, hey, it's the old 2008 version, so no more pack racing. It'll be much more down to the strategy. We'll see if you can put that 64 truck back into victory lane and start a big title offensive against some of the best veterans that you got over here in truck racing on the service. For now, congratulations on taking the third place in the final step on the podium at Daytona, and we will see you next week.
Alrighty, thank you.
Michael Gudger coming home in the LSU Chevy Silverado, taking home that final podium position. And, well, Mike, with that, that's all we're going to have for one night. But what an absolutely barn burner of a night. Absolutely thrilling scenes. And I cannot wait to see what's going to come out of next week's race in Atlanta.
Man, the first race of the season, they set the bar so high. I look forward to seeing what these guys have for the rest of the season.
It is going to be non-stop action from here on out as we will look set to go racing at the Atlanta Motor Speedway 1 week from now. Don't forget as well to tune in to the ASRL Next Gen Cup Series tomorrow night at Talladega Super Speedway at 7:25 p.m. Eastern Time. OMSRL returns to the Rock in North Carolina on Tuesday nights, and of course we'll get the Beer League, the Speed Cup Series, and more all back throughout the coming week as well on Green Flag TV. For us here, though, from Daytona International Speedway and the TNGG IEL Truck Series, it's finally time to say farewell. Thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to join us on yet some more absolutely incredible racing on a beautiful Sunday night. If you want to find out who we are and what we do, you can check us out at www.greenflagtv.com. My name has been Nola Ramble alongside Mike Braun. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week when we go racing in Hampton, Georgia.